Hey guys, welcome to CraterMania. I'm your host, a man they call Crater. And I'd like to welcome you back to How I Got Into Wrestling. And this is the show where we learn about how wrestling fans from all over the world give their perspective of how they got into wrestling. On today's show, we have a very special guest. This man is the first guest that I've had that is not a YouTuber or a professional wrestler. He is just a fan of wrestling, just like so many people out there. And as I've stated before, that is why I created this series in the first place to get, in the first place, just to get, all these people, from different walks of life, all over the world, because wrestling is what I love, and I love to talk, to people about it who also love it, and regardless of who they are. So, it goes without saying that I am incredibly excited for this one because I have never met this man in person or spoke to him outside of Facebook or the Dead Pit message board back in the day. So now, entering the CraterMania arena, Brock Hood. What's
What's up, man? Appreciate it.
Hey, glad to have you on here, man. Like I said, I've known you for a good while. I knew you back in the day as Brockzilla
Yep.
on the Dead Pit message board. But glad to finally, see you and hear you for the first time, man. And what better way to do it than to talk about some wrestling?
Nothing better than talking about wrestling. I appreciate being here, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, no problem, man. So let's go ahead and just jump into this real quick. So, like the with this first question, I ask everyone, and I feel like it's the most important question, when it comes to this show. How
Mhm.
did you get into wrestling?
I think I was born into it, man. When I was a kid, I mean, by my dad. That's the answer. Was my dad. When I was a kid, my dad took me to wrestling. My dad had primetime wrestling on, Hulk Hogan. I was hooked, man. Hooked. I remember he took us to what took me Pontiac. No, WrestleMania 3. They didn't have pay-per-view then, but they had
Right.
closed circuit, and that's how I got to watch it. And I was, 80s kid, born in 82, and I remember the first real pay-per-view we got was WrestleMania 4. And yeah, you got to thank him
So
for sure.
where did you watch WrestleMania 3 at?
It was the Kill Auditorium in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I'm from, St. Louis area. And is you watch it on closed circuit. It's kind of like going to a movie theater. They had a gigantic screen hooked up. I was only like 5 years old at the time, but that's one of my first early memories of wrestling. And
Mm.
he'll tell stories about it back before they had pay per view. So that's how you had to watch it. And it was WrestleMania 4 is when pay per view came into where we lived.
Oh, okay, I see. And so you said your dad got you into
My
it.
dad got yeah. My
That
dad's been a big fan, and here it is now. I guess he put it on to me, and we've still to this day we watch wrestling together all the time,
right.
talk about wrestling every day, and
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
Um, And that I can kind of relate in a way because like my dad didn't, but my older brother got me into it.
Okay.
So let me ask you, since your dad got you into it,
hmm
um, who like how did he get into it? Do you know?
I think he just always liked it. He grew up in all over different places, but I know one of the places he lived in was Florida, and
Mhm.
he went to like Florida Championship Wrestling. Dusty Rhodes and all them were there, and I,
Oh,
I
hell
think
yeah.
he just always liked it. And then I don't know, growing up, it was he just had it on, and we always, the old primetime wrestling, or what before Monday Night Raw, Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, and I don't know how he got into it. He just always liked it, I guess, himself, and he passed it on to me.
Do you know if he ever had a favorite wrestler?
Bret the Hitman Hart,
Bret Hart was his
Bret Hart.
favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
super cool, man. I love that.
yeah,
That's one
yeah,
of my top favorites too. So I
yeah.
respect
Mine
that.
too, mine too. But yeah, he was Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect. That
So,
definitely,
was that the first, or who was the first wrestler that you became like a fan of?
definitely Hulk Hogan.
Hogan.
Yeah,
So
definitely, yeah.
I think I know the answer to this already because it's the same for a lot of people that
hmm
were a fan of Hulk Hogan. But like,
Yeah.
what about him really appealed to you to be like the first guy that you really liked in wrestling?
I think just because he was larger than life, he was a superhero. He was
Yeah,
the man. Everybody knew Hulk Hogan, whether you watched wrestling or didn't know. My mom could name two or three wrestlers, but everybody knows
right.
Hulk Hogan.
Exactly, and I think the same thing like applies today with people like John Cena, The Rock. A lot of these
Yep.
guys. Hogan was the first one, to really kind of like bring all this multimedia together in with wrestling related to it.
Right.
He made it like this. He helped make it that pop culture icon that it is today. Uh,
Yep.
so like he was really before guys like John Cena and The Rock, and even guys during Hogan's time like Piper, that was going into Hollywood. Hogan was
Yep.
the innovator of that. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
super cool, man. Besides Hogan, was who were some other guys that really stood out to you at that time when you first got into wrestling?
Ultimate Warrior, definitely. Ultimate Warrior. So Big Boss Man, Roddy Piper, a lot of the
Mhm,
WWF guys. We watched WCW, or I watched WCW early on, but definitely I
mhm.
was a WWF kid. Macho
Um,
Man.
what about the WWF? Appealed to you more than what NWA or WCW was at that time?
I think it was kid friendly. I think it was more accessible, and to the bigger stars. It just seemed like they were like the major league. As a little kid, you're like, oh, everybody else Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair was big, obviously in WCW, but yeah, growing up, man, they just had the larger in life characters.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. But like because when I got into wrestling, like it was 1990 when I first got into it,
Okay.
but like, but I was kind of around it,
Yeah.
before that because of my older brother. My older brother was a huge Ricky Steamboat fan, and so he watched all the WWF, NWA, whatever,
Yes.
so like, but I was still at that time. I was very young. So I didn't
Right.
really know what was going on until I got, a little bit older and I started watching it, regularly in 1990. That's how I got into it.
Yeah.
Sting and Flair was the first match that I can really remember, and I was such a big fan of WCW because of guys like Sting and Flair and everybody that was in it at that time. But like, like you said, WWF was more of that kind of kid friendly, larger than life. Even
Yep.
not saying that WCW at the time wasn't kid
No.
friendly, but it's just like the stars in WWF around that time
Yeah.
was more like you said, like more like a superhero esque type characters, like they were popping out from a comic book. Whereas the guys
Yeah.
over in WCW, were kind of more like average, standard, like
Yeah.
everyday guys. And but I think there was such an appeal for that too for a lot of people. If you look at guys like because Dusty Rhodes, the Common Man,
Yeah.
like so I can kind of understand like um both sides of it, but I definitely agree with you on that. So with when you were beginning to watch wrestling, at this
Hmm.
time, were there any kind of memorable matches or moments that really stick out to you from that time?
Oh yeah, definitely. WrestleMania 4 when Macho Man first won the belt. Love
Mhm.
that. Definitely the Mega Powers Explode WrestleMania 6. And then, even following then I became the gigantic, kind of turned away from Hulk Hogan, and now it's Ultimate Warrior. He's the fresh new thing. And then when he beat Hulk Hogan, I remember running around my house like a little kid. Just I was so excited that the Ultimate Warrior won the belt, man. It was awesome. And
Let
then
me add. Oh, go
go
ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, no, no. Just those are some of the memories that I remember, definitely.
So let me ask you about WrestleMania 4 because, like, when I was a kid, I loved watching that one too because I would rent it on tape all the time
Yep.
because it actually happened before I got into wrestling. So I would go to like the video store all the time and rent older wrestling tapes. And WrestleMania 4 was one I would rent quite a bit, but like. Now that I'm older and I go back and I watch that event, and it's still super kind of nostalgic for me,
Yeah.
and I love that, that was the kind of the introduction to the Winged Eagle belt and Macho Man wins it and everything. But the show as a whole, now that I watch it when I'm older, it there's parts of it is kind of boring.
Oh,
Do you feel that way or?
yeah, 100%. I think there's boring parts in WrestleMania 1 and 2 as well.
Oh
I
yeah.
think 3 was a better show put together. They had more matches and the celebrities and stuff.
Mhm.
4 though, just I was a big Macho Man fan, and they finally when they turned him face, and that I think this him winning. And as a kid, I was only 6 or 7 at the time. You don't pay attention to the work rate and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
but the guy I wanted to win at the end won, and that was just a big deal to me.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was the same how I felt about it
Yeah.
too. It's very different. WrestleMania 4 is different from really
Yeah.
any other WrestleMania there's ever been because
Yep.
that was the only one that had like the one night tournament deal,
Yep.
right?
They had the Wrestling Classic like a few years before that,
Hmm.
and that was on the network. I don't even know remember who won that, but I think that might have been one of the first tournaments. And then this obviously was the first tournament pay per view that they had. WWF did.
And I think that's maybe why I feel that way now about
Yeah,
WrestleMania 4 because like, it's just the whole show just about it is and just a one big tournament. I
tournament.
mean,
Yep.
there's some other matches that are kind of thrown in there that's really
Yeah.
random, but yeah, I wouldn't mind actually going back and watch because it's been a long time since I've watched WrestleMania 4. But you also mentioned WrestleMania 6, which that's
Yeah.
probably one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time, just
Yeah.
because of that match. And I know there's people out there like that will shit on it now, and because it's not some big technical bout or anything, but Hogan and Warrior at the time were two of the biggest names in all of wrestling. And I mean, that's they were the two like biggest guys in the WWF. So it
Hmm.
was like a superhero fighting another superhero
Yep.
because it was one of those rare occasions back during that time for WrestleMania where you had a face facing another face in the main event. So like do you what are your memories from WrestleMania 6 that makes it stand out to you so much?
Oh, I think it's just the uprising of the Ultimate Warrior, and I just remember being on like at school as a little kid and Team Hogan, Team Warrior, and I remember my buddy at the time, and I was like, "There's no way Hogan's gonna lose." I
Right.
didn't even understand the business, but I was still real to me, right? I'm like, Hogan's not gonna lose, man, or it'll be a disqualification or something. And then, but I, secretly wanted Warrior to win so bad. I still liked Hogan, but Warrior was the new fresh thing, man. And that
Yeah,
music
man.
is amazing. No matter you could shit on him all you want, but that music gets you pumped up. And his entrance, and then when he actually won, I just, oh my god, as a kid, I was just like, he won, he won.
Yeah, it's awesome because, like,
Yeah,
when I think most people during that time we were given that expectation that Hogan was going to
yeah,
win because every WrestleMania before that he was in the
he
main
won.
event and he won every single time. So this was his first loss at a WrestleMania. So I think that's what makes that moment that Warrior wins it, even bigger, like and more important to like the history of WrestleMania because Hogan, the whole Hulkamania thing is kind of what evolved into what would become WrestleMania. So, and him being like the biggest guy that there was in the company at that time, that really, everybody expected him just to be that top guy, and that was his event. Just
Hmm.
so for someone else to win, like it was insane. If you go back and watch that match when Warrior wins, just listen to the crowd, man. Like they erupt. I mean, you would think like it might be divided or something because people were fans of Hogan, people were fans of Warrior, but like it's one of the biggest like reactions that I've ever heard when it comes to a WrestleMania main event. It's super cool, man.
No, without a doubt, it's like Gorilla Monsoon used to always say it's a happening. And I think people maybe wanted it or didn't want it, but when it happened, they were shocked that it did happen. They're like, oh my God, the Ultimate Hogan actually lost, Warrior won. And yeah, that was a great moment.
Oh yeah, man. So are you a collector of things when it comes to wrestling?
I have not anymore, but when I was a kid and still in my parents' basement, I got tons of LJNs, tons of Hasbro figures, tons of merchandise. I got a bunch of T-shirts here and there, but yeah, in my dad's basement, my mom and dad's basement, they got all my Hasbros, all my LGNs, so much stuff down there.
So you still do have that stuff. It's just
Yeah,
like
I still have it. Yeah, I don't buy it anymore. It's aged out or the prices or whatever. I don't not into it. But when I was a kid, man, every Christmas, every birthday, I wanted my Hasbro's, and my dad helped make sure I had all as much the collection as we could find. I mean, we'd scour and get what we could.
that's the same thing with me too. Like when I got into it, like the Hasbro's were still relatively new when got into
Yep,
wrestling. So I was looking for those, and then um, the Galoob figures that WCW put
yep.
out. Like
I had
I
those
want,
too.
yeah, I wanted those as well. But like for some reason, just I don't know if it's just the area that I lived in or what, but like we hardly could ever find anything from WCW around here because I don't know if just the stores wasn't ordering the product or what it was, but like I would only ever find like those figures like if I went to like a flea market or somewhere out of state or something, you know? Because I think
Yeah.
my family used to go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, quite a bit, you know, and just for Dollywood and all kinds of different stuff, you know, as I was growing up. And then like we would go to stores around there, and that's where I found like most of my wrestling toys that was WCW related because we just couldn't find them anywhere around here where I lived. And but there was tons of WWF stuff everywhere. I found Hasbro's and stuff all the time. Um, Now the LJNs, like now we had those when I was a kid, but they were my brothers because like
Hmm.
that was before I got into it and everything. But he had all those, and I think there's actually a home video somewhere. My mom has. I'd love to like find it and get it uploaded on here. So it was like Christmas of '88, I think, and my brother like in the video he got the Macho Man and Elizabeth LJNs
Oh,
for
that's awesome.
Christmas that year. And but he had those, and he had like the Remco AWA figures, and um, do you remember the like the I think what company was it that put these out? It was they were like the LJN figures in the '90s, but they were WCW wrestlers. Do you remember the
I
ones
remember
I'm
the
talking about?
Galoob. Yeah, I know. Oh, so the Galoob were the older ones, like in the early '90s. And I don't know the company, but yeah, I do remember W. Are you talking about when they became Nitro and they had that line?
Well, it was before they did because the first Nitro line was when they had like the wrestling figures that had like the button on the side and they would
Yeah.
vibrate.
Yes.
But before those, they just had like the non-moving wrestlers. They were the same
Yeah.
size as the LJNs from the '80s. But I cannot for the life of me remember. I want to say they were like
Yeah.
San Francisco Toy Company or
They
something like that.
yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't think I had any of those. I definitely had the Galoob because I remember Ric Flair had like the blue trunks. I had
Mhm.
Sting in the face paint. I had some of them, but yeah, I don't remember the ones you're specifically talking about.
Yeah, they were like I said about the same size and made similar to the WWF LJNs, but like it was a very different, like more of a plastic than it was the
Yeah,
rubber. And like so if you played with them, they would get marks all over them very easily, and I hated
yeah,
that. But I had a bunch of those, and then like you mentioned, those ones, the nitro ones, where that would vibrate. They came out a
yeah.
little bit later after that, but I don't have much of that stuff anymore myself.
No, I hear you. I think the last line I followed was Jax. And then it
Mhm.
had turned now it's turning 15, 16, then they added you there, and I'm like, all right, man, maybe it ain't as cool to play with toys, or whatever, collect them. I'm still gonna
The
watch it, but
like the are you talking about like the bone crunching action figure?
yeah, yeah. Jack
I like
specific or whatever. They did them for a long. They had big
oh
lines of them.
they Jax did the
Yeah,
WWF figures for forever, man,
yeah,
and I love the bone crunching ones. And then they would like kind of they did these things called like Titantron figures where they had like a little
yeah.
metal piece on the bottom of their foot, and you could like sit on this Titantron like stage, and it would like play their music or
Yep.
whatever. But yeah, I've been collecting wrestling figures and stuff for a long time, and I still collect the Mattel stuff. I don't really collect the AEW figures, because Jax does those,
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. Like it just seems like the quality has kind of gone down over the years now.
yeah,
And like if you look at the Jax figures from years ago that WWF was doing, like the scans and everything looked spot on to the actual wrestlers. And while some of the scans for the AEW figures nowadays that Jax does um, looks decent, but it just doesn't. It's not. Some of them are a little bit off.
I got you. Yeah, yeah. I like the. I think one of the things got out besides age, but also like the Hasbro's. They were the yellow card, the green card, the red card, and now with man, there's 50 different lineups, and it's like, oh my god,
It's
it's
crazy,
so
man.
hard to yeah. And then with
Yeah,
Mattel, they got so many different ones.
and I was talking to Garrett about this. Like like I said, I still collect, the Mattel figures and stuff that's out nowadays, but there's just so much now, like that
Hmm.
I can't keep up with it all. So I have to kind of like narrow it down to a few different
Yeah.
wrestlers that I like to collect. And then you have all these other companies, you have these little independent companies that are putting out toys now, like Zombie Sailor Toys and Hastel Toys, and there's a bunch. Matt Cardona has his own toy company. The major, I think it's got Major Brothers or
Yeah, it's something like I
toy company
follow
or something like
like
that.
I think wrestling figures on Reddit, and you can like create your own like pay, and they'll they're all custom
Uh,
made and they look great, but it's like my gosh,
I
and
didn't even know. So there's another thing I didn't even know
yeah,
about that one. So
yeah. There's a subreddit
uh,
I follow, and then they literally they're all custom made, and some of them look amazing. And I don't
that's
know how
all.
they get the rights to them, but yeah, they're custom making
Yeah,
from
that
all these different lineups. Yeah,
seems like there's some sketchy legal stuff
yeah.
going on there. But
Hmm.
did you when you were growing up, did you ever get into the wrestling magazines?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had a WWF magazine subscription.
Hmm.
And then I'd find WCW here and there at the store. But yeah, my dad for years got me the WWF magazine subscription.
Yeah, I love the WWF magazine and the WCW ones, but I think my favorite one was Pro Wrestling Illustrated,
Oh
man.
yeah,
Because I just liked keeping up with all the different companies at once, and even ones
yeah,
I was kind of learning about at the time.
yep.
In those, and they always had in every issue like a top 10, like in per company in all the world, and then just I loved that stuff, man. Like that's that was one of the biggest ways that I kept up with wrestling at the time. If I wasn't watching it on TV, I would keep up with it in the magazine.
Oh, definitely. I remember going to like grocery stores and my mom be shopping, and I'd just be reading whatever wrestling magazines they had.
Um, so you're a fan like of wrestling still today, right?
Oh, hardcore. I'm watching NXT last night.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
get to watch it. So what was it?
the
Vengeance Day or something?
Vengeance Day.
Yeah,
Vengeance Day.
I forgot to watch it, man. Was
Yeah,
it a good show?
it was a good show. Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. I'm curious because
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on because they said it was the last night they're going to be on Peacock, so I don't know where they're going now. But
Hmm.
actually, we got tickets for
Netflix.
Stand and Deliver's coming to St. Louis, the next pay per view. We just got tickets for that a couple
Oh,
days ago.
really?
So yeah,
That's awesome, man.
me and buddy's gonna check that out. First time ever seen NXT pay per view live.
I would love to go to an NXT show, man. Because I've never been to one of them, but I've always heard people say, like online, if you go to an NXT show, it's so much different from going from to a WWE like main roster show because it's easier to meet a lot of the wrestlers with an
Hmm.
NXT. Some of them will even like kind of stick around and hang out with you and stuff. And I was like, wow, that sounds awesome because like
Yeah,
I've been to like the Raws and SmackDowns and stuff like that, and rarely you even get to see those guys very much. If they might, some may stop here or there and like sign an autograph or take a picture with you or something before the show or after the show, but it's very rare nowadays, man. Just because, like, I don't know, I think social media and stuff like that, and people like showing up at airports at 5 in the morning and stalking some of these wrestlers like they do is kind of ruined a lot of that kind of interaction I think between the wrestlers and fans.
yeah, I see that all the time. I just seen one of the oh man, I don't know which one it was. Kiana James, I think, was saying that people's like calling her personal number and showing up at her house. I'm like, I don't even know how you would get their number and how are you showing. Like, I don't know how they're whatever they're figuring out a way. I know years ago they had a NXT stalker at Full Sail, and
Yeah,
there was
I mean,
multiple stories about that. It's like, geez, man.
and then there's one I've been seeing circulating a lot here past week about Alexa Bliss having a stalker, and then like her husband getting
Her
death
husband.
threats and just crazy stuff, dude. And then the
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley stuff. Like, there's a video out there. Like, I think it's when they were over in another country or something, and like she's like just walking the streets, and there's like these people just like they just flood in, man, and
Yeah.
crowd, and that's like that's got to be like terrifying
Yeah.
because you don't know these people, and they're just like
No.
they're bum rushing you, and then one of them could like just I don't know, like just shank you or anything like that.
Anything, yeah. Well, like Kiana James saying, people's like texting her and calling her house and asking her off to go to concerts, and I'm like, how do they even get your number? But yeah,
Dude, that's
it's
fucked
scary
up.
out there. Yeah.
It's, like I heard a story similar to that about Arn Anderson. Like someone, like so, there's a lot of people. I'm one of them, and CK from Dead Pit does where we do like the fan mail stuff, send stuff to the mail. Like some may sign it, some may not. They may just send it back to you or whatever.
Hmm.
So like a lot of these people, not just wrestlers, but just other celebrities, they have addresses online where their fan mail goes to their home. So I remember hearing the story about this guy, like he was sending stuff to Arn Anderson's home, having it signed. Arn Anderson would sign and the guy would get it back. But then the guy ended up just going to Arn Anderson's house and knocking on his door. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going
Yeah.
on with some of these people, man? Like, what gives you the like? This, oh, that's a great idea. I want to go and knock on this guy's head that he doesn't know who I am. Like that. What do you think about that, man?
That's awful. I remember the old AEW episode where Cody Rhodes is like at his house and and Arn Anderson pulls out a gun. And I'm thinking, dude, maybe you should pull out a gun to this fan.
Well, I'd forgot about that. Maybe that's what that was referencing. That
Yeah,
story, like,
maybe because he
I
had a Glock with him, and I was like, jeez, man,
yeah, because I
who
remember
knows?
the story was like the guy knocked on Arn Anderson's door, and then like he was asleep or something. So like when he just got up and he come into the door, and he was just like didn't know what to do. And I think so. I think the Arn Anderson told this story on his podcast, if not mistaken. So
Hmm.
that's how I found out about it. Um, but so, where you're a fan of wrestling today, um, how do you feel about the state of it? As opposed to how you felt about it initially when you first got into it years ago.
I'm a lifelong fan, so I'm always gonna watch it. The current product, it has issues here and there. But
Hmm.
I will be honest with you, I love AEW. And I watch, Pitomania and I watch WrestleMania 'cause I know you guys are not big on the AEW. But I
Well,
will be
I
honest,
mean,
AEW
most of the
has
guys aren't.
yeah, most of the yeah. Sometimes I wonder, are you guys really follow? Not you, but is Garrett really following AEW? Because some of
he no,
the
he
digs that they throw out at there, and I'm not saying they're perfect, but there is something about AEW that's really rejuvenated my love for wrestling.
Well, I'll say this. So I know that Garrett, he doesn't follow it. Like he watches stuff. I
Yeah,
think maybe clips at most.
yeah,
Same thing with CK, but like Mark, I'm not sure. He
yeah.
may watch it, but the thing is, like I do have gripes about it here and there.
Hmm.
But their AEW is not the only ones. I have gripes about WWE. I have gripes
Oh
about
yeah,
every single different wrestling promotion that I
yeah.
watch. But regardless, I watch it. I watch AEW. I never get to watch Collision, but I try to watch Dynamite every week. I try to
Yeah,
watch all the pay per views, and I tell you, some people will say, not saying any names, but some people would say that AEW sucks and they're shit regardless of what kind of show they put on. But I tell you, man, AEW puts on some pretty good pay per view shows sometimes.
definitely.
That last one they did, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was such a great. It was the one where MJF won the title in the Fatal Four Way.
Oh yeah, World's End.
A World's End. There you go.
Yeah,
So I mean, that was a great show, I thought,
yeah.
and I think this next one coming up, which is
Revolution.
Revolution, with
Yeah,
and the main event for that is MJF and Hangman, right?
yeah. Texas Death Match.
Texas, and that's another one I'll mention. Also, like the last Texas
Yeah,
Death Match they had, which was him and Swerve,
yeah,
was crazy, dude.
yeah,
So I'm looking forward to that one between MJF and Hangman. But yeah, like I'm one of those. I'm like you, man. I watch, whatever as long as
yeah,
because I find entertainment
yeah,
out of all of them, in some way or another. So
yeah.
I watch WWE, I watch AEW, TNA, MLW. I don't know if you watch that.
Not all the time, but I know what it is.
Like,
But there's not a day that goes on. I mean, I watch a lot of things the next day, so every day I got wrestling on. Whether it's
yeah,
so Tuesday's gonna be Raw, Wednesday I'll watch NXT, Thursday I watch Dynamite, Friday's TNA. I watch subscribe to Ring of Honor, so I watch that. Saturday you got Collision. There's a pay per view once or twice a month. It's every day there's some kind of wrestling on them, and that's just
that's the
the
same for me
the
too,
stuff,
man.
man. That's not including the YouTube or reading on message boards or listening to podcasts, or I'm a big Dave Meltzer guy, so I was just to Wrestling Observer newsletter. So I read that, listen to his shows. Back to AEW though, real quick. They're not perfect. WWE's not perfect, but for there, it seems like there's an online conglomeration that's want them to go out of business, and I don't get that. They've done so much for
Dude,
wrestling, and it's a place for them to go work. And even if they're not going to, the pay structure's there, and if they're overpaying, that's just going to make Triple H or Shad Khan going to overpay to get you guys there. It's all good for the boys, man, and the girls, and it's great for wrestling.
yeah, I completely agree, man. Like, as long as, like, I think wrestling is out there, in some shape or form,
Yep.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna if WWE went away tomorrow, like,
Yeah.
I'd be sad. But
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would still have other options out there. And like I
Yeah.
said, while some of this, I don't agree with some of the stories and stuff sometimes, and whether it be WWE or AEW or wherever, you know, I'm still going to find some kind of form of entertainment. Like, I think the women's wrestling in AEW, I enjoy it a lot more than I do the WWE's currently.
Okay.
Um, it's like I'm a big fan of Chris Statlander. I'm a big fan of Harley Cameron and
Yeah.
Willow Nightingale and girls like that.
Definitely.
Megan Bain, which I think Megan Bain may eventually pop up in WWE at some point.
She's got
She's
the
definitely
size.
she's got the look for sure. A few of the I think Chris Statlander could also end up showing up in WWE.
Yeah, Chris Allen's awesome, and the new girl they're pushing, Tekla. I think, man, she has got so
Mhm.
much charisma. She's great on the mic. She's believable. She's a badass, but you really feel like, dude, she probably could, kick your ass.
And I hate to say, this because, never say never when it comes to wrestling, but Tony Storm, I don't think we will ever see her back in WWE because she stated that she has no interest of ever going back there. Do
It,
you? What do you think?
no, I agree. I don't. I think her and me and my dad go back and forth. I don't think Moxley's ever going back either. I don't. There's something that
I
him
don't
and
know.
it just rubbed him the wrong. I don't know. But
I,
honestly, but there's some people I don't ever want to go. I don't ever want to see Randy Orton AEW. And I don't ever want to see the
no.
Young Bucks or Kenny Omega leave AEW. I want their homegrown people
I
to stay there.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
did. Initially, back when AEW started, or even before that, when just the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and they were doing the Bullet Club stuff, in Japan and all that.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that I wanted to see those guys in WWE one day,
Yeah.
but at this point, I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
I just think that if Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks went to WWE at this point, I just think that they wouldn't really fit into the fold. I just think that there's too much going on right now as there is with the roster
Yeah.
that's in WWE. Same thing in AEW,
Mm.
but like the thing with AEW though is like you can bring guys in from like WWE over like Tommaso Ciampa just came into AEW and they like immediately just kind of put him into these major storylines. I mean, they gave him a title right off the
Right off the
bat.
bat. Yeah.
And now like he's doing this whole like storyline with Mark Briscoe and I
Yeah.
guess FTR is involved in that somehow.
Yeah. He turned
Uh
bad, I guess.
yeah, so I there are things like that,
Yeah.
that really interest me about their product and kind of keeps me watching. But
Yeah.
like regardless, I'm one of those guys that just watches like
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad. I
Yeah.
mean, I always say this, like if you can get through the whole era of Hogan and Dixie Carter and TNA, then you can watch anything, dude.
Yeah.
So,
Even
uh,
then, though, they had some good storylines going, in TNA with. I think TNA right now is definitely, yeah, they're on AMC, but they're definitely at their worst. You could tell the budget's not there, the
yeah,
roster's not there. They're like a cockroach, though, man. They're hanging on, and I don't know if they're ever going to go away, man. But at one time, TNA was awesome. Hogan,
oh,
though, yeah, the Hogan era was tough, especially getting
yeah,
rid of six sides, and they got rid of their identity.
that
And
was the thing that I think bothered me the most because I was such a
hmm
huge fan of TNA from the get go when they were just kind of transferring from the NWA Wild side into TNA and like
yep,
um because that I mean the whole X Division stuff, where AJ Styles. That's where I became a fan of AJ Styles as TNA back in
Yeah.
2002 or whatever it was, and then guys like Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe, Kaz, and all those X Division guys. I mean, it was just super innovative, and the whole six-sided ring was like really what gave them their identity. And just to take that away when they did was just like,
Hmm.
what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Uh,
I
but
hope they though. I mean, I hope they flourish. It's another place to go. And
I
it seems like it's a repeated history. WCW gets hot, WWE's getting better. They were in a
right.
lull, and then one time Ring of Honor started getting really popular, and then WWE started taking a lot of their people away, and then now here's AEW, who's probably the most competition they've ever had, besides WCW, and that's
Oh
making
yeah.
WWE better. You
Absolutely,
know,
and I think money plays a big factor in all that, but just because of what the millions of dollars I guess Tony Khan has, but I mean with that he can just not just acquire talent, but
yeah,
that he puts that money into the production, into everything that goes into the show, and so I'm not down in Tony Khan for that.
no.
I actually think that's very admirable, but I will say I think Tony Khan's kind of a weird guy. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's definitely he's there's something wrong with him, cocaine con or something. I don't know. But I've
I
been to
don't
ring
know.
or I've been to AEW so many times, but it is cool. I mean, Vince McMahon's not going to come out before the shows and get you pumped up and hey, what's up,
Right.
and or
That,
Triple
that's
H,
very true.
and they are in that fan era where they seem more appreciative of the fans, and ECW was kind of like that. Ring of Honor was like
Yeah.
that. I mean, we went to Ring of Honor. Oh, I can't remember when it was, 2013 maybe, and Cody Rhodes was there, and he was kissing babies and the humblest guy. Thanks for coming to Ring of Honor, and you're like, yeah, dude, you're Cody Rhodes, of course, and but that is where AEW is. But
Yeah, Cody's such a cool, and that's another thing that really bothers me about like the wrestling internet community
mm-hmm.
is that there's Cody, of course, he just won the WWE title
Oh
back,
yeah, they're
and
turning on him.
so many people online I've
Yeah,
seen the past few days,
yeah.
they hate it, dude.
Oh yeah, they're done
They're
with
like,
him.
but that's a guy that I don't think I could ever turn against because I've
No.
just been such a huge fan of him from the get go, man, and
Mm-hmm.
Dusty being his dad plays a big part in it too because I'm a huge Dusty fan. So
Yeah.
as soon as Cody came onto the scene back years ago in WWE, I've been behind him since day one, man. And I don't. That's just somebody. He's too good of a guy. Like you said, he came out for that Ring of Honor show, met everybody. Like I went to this WWE show. It was like a couple months before WrestleMania 40, and it was in Corbin, Kentucky. And like, so the show was over with, and like outside, like the left side of the Corbin Arena is like there's this big like fence, and all of these people that were at the show were standing at that fence, and that's where all the wrestlers have to leave out that way. So because they're like all their cars and stuff are parked inside of that fence, so they have to leave out like through all these people. So all these wrestlers were leaving and stuff. We're like, all right, nobody's gonna come out, nobody's gonna come out. But like everybody was still sticking around, and all of a sudden here comes Cody, and there's maybe 200 to 300 people standing here, and he took his time and met every single person that wanted to meet him.
That's
Took
awesome.
autographs, pictures, everything, dude. I said, that's a guy that I could never not be behind. That's a guy that
No.
I'll never lose respect for. I mean, if you're doing that shit, then that's killer, dude.
Yeah.
And so I'll always be a fan of Cody Rhodes, and like, and I'll just say this, like I think it was the best decision storyline wise, because there's a better story with him and Randy than there is with Randy and Drew.
Yeah, I think it's I agree with that. There's a and I love Drew though, and I think people are
Hmm.
feeling Drew's getting screwed. Drew deserves it. Drew is awesome, and maybe he deserves a longer title reign. But they want to do a one-on-one match. They don't want to do the triple threat or the other rumors of the four-way or five-way. And I
Hmm.
guess I don't know where it leaves Drew. I guess Jacob
I
Fatu.
that's what I'm thinking. Like I initially
Yeah.
thought that they were going to do a match between Drew and Aldis, but I think it's going to be Drew and Jacob Fatu now.
Yeah,
And
there's rumors that Aldous could come back too.
but
So
I think it was the best decision to do that now because you don't really know how much more in the tank that Randy Orton has, and they wanted
No.
to eventually have, because they kind of been building on it for a while between Randy and Cody, because it's just their story they have there, back dating back to the whole legacy stable and all that. Um, I think this was probably the best time to have it, because I mean Randy's maybe getting close to the end of his career, and
Yeah.
WrestleMania I think is the best place to have a match like that.
Yeah. Cody's getting booed at Mania. I think
Oh
the crowd's gonna
yeah,
be 100% on Randy. I don't think they're gonna let Randy take it though. I don't think Cody's gonna have another quick run. I think we'll see.
there's definitely gonna be some boos for Cody.
Yeah.
I think it may be a mix, but like I honestly think Cody's turning heel at Mania. That's
That
my
could happen
my
too.
guess. Because they've been kind of like teasing that, like
Yeah.
because Cody like took advantage in that, fatal 4-way thing, like where he was it because Jacob Fatu was going to win the match, but he got like Drew screwed him out of it, and then Cody
Yeah.
just grabbed the pin. So, and then they again kind of doing the stuff like Cody like grabbing the title and stuff like, and so I don't know. I think that would be the best if they're going to turn Cody heel. I think that would be the best way is by doing it on Randy, and so we could kind of it would kind of give more structure to that
Yeah.
story, I guess.
Keep the belt or whatever.
Hmm.
Sammy's gonna turn bad too.
Yeah, I
They
don't know what
he,
they're doing with him, dude.
yeah. Yeah.
Like that's
I don't
weird.
know. I think on Raw, I'm actually intrigued with the CM Punk Roman Reigns because I don't really. I mean, I really I can't even tell who's going to win. Normally, I can tell you, oh, it's a shoe in. I'm not sure. I could see CM Punk winning and Roman going away for a while, or I could see Roman winning and staying. I don't know.
Well, that's funny you mentioned because I am absolutely loving that this what they after what they did with that promo stuff
Yeah,
on Raw between Punk and Roman,
yeah.
and I got to thinking about it, and I was talking this about this with a friend the other day. So who do you think needs it? I think Punk needs it more
Oh, definitely
than
Punk
Roman
needs it
does.
more.
Because if you look at like Punk, last year was his first Mania match since he's came back to WWE, and he lost. Roman also was in that same match with Punk, and he lost last year.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the year before, Roman lost then as well. So what do you do here? Do you have Roman, who is, been in several WrestleMania main event matches anyway? Do you have him lose 3 years in a row? Or do you have the guy that just came back a few years ago, and this is only his second WrestleMania match back, and he's going to have lost both of his WrestleMania matches since he's been back? So I love that, you know
Yeah.
analyzing it like that, because there's stakes here. There's actual stakes for both of these guys in this match.
Hmm.
So, well, but do you feel the same? Like I said, like you
Oh
think
yeah,
Punk
I
deserves it
agree.
more?
Yeah, and I can see it going both ways, and that's the exciting part. I can see Roman winning or should be Punk winning. It's not predictable. I can definitely say that. I would keep the belt on Punk, and
Hmm.
or is Roman going to stay around? That's another thing. Roman disappears a lot, and
Yeah,
that's his
exactly.
thing. And is he going to stay around for a while, or is he going to go away for a while? And Punk, to his credits, there every week.
Yeah, and I gotta say, man, like if Roman were to win the title back, then it's just going to be kind of like how it was a few years ago. He's just going to
Yeah,
be showing up periodically,
yeah.
with the belt, and I just I'm not a big fan of that, man. I'm not a
No,
big
I
fan
hear.
of when they give the part timers a belt and they're just showing up like went back when they did it with Brock.
Yeah,
Brock was the champ, and but he was just showing up every now and then. Like I
yeah,
think whoever has the belt should be on the show every week.
yeah. I agree with that.
And should be making continuous appearances here and there for the
Yeah.
company. I just don't like it when they put them on these part timers, man. It's not. It's like
No,
I mean, it's cool. They should if they're. I think if these guys are going to be part timers, then they should never be put in the title picture.
I
They should
agree.
be. They should still have these big fight feel matches at these events like Mania and SummerSlam, places like that. But I I think if they're not going to be there, consistently, then they shouldn't be in a title picture.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So my next question for you, man, and sorry to get off the beaten path. I know we start talking about wrestling, it just kind of
Hey,
flows
it's
all
all,
together.
this is your show, brother.
But is there anything from wrestling in the past that you loved about it that you don't see enough of anymore?
Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely like the managers. I like growing up. I like seeing the managers. Uh, I think the commentary back in the day was better. It seems like they draw you in a little more, and I think not the again or AEW, but I really like Tony Schiavone. He just reminds me
Oh,
of a
me too,
kid.
man.
Yeah, it just reminds me of a kid and the stories and it's Sting, and he just gets
Yeah.
so excited. And so yeah, there's definitely things like that.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I like watching AEW is because of Tony Schiavone on commentary.
Hmm.
Because I was such a huge fan of WCW in the
Yeah,
'90s, and especially during the whole NWO era of WCW, like Tony Schiavone was just my and the whole thing, like you said, like it's Sting.
yeah,
I that's iconic, man, and just
yeah,
I love the whole commentary team that they had back in WCW in the '90s. You had Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan and Larry Zbysko, and then you
yeah.
had Dusty Rhodes doing like WCW Saturday
Hmm.
Night and the pay-per-views, and then later they brought in Mike Tenay, and but when it started like towards the late '90s when they started bringing in guys on commentary
Mark
like
Madden.
Mark Madden,
Yeah,
I'm done with that, man.
Stevie. Right now, I get you. No,
Oh, I
yeah,
forgot that Stevie Ray was on
yeah,
commentary for
yeah.
it. But that was, yeah, he wasn't good at all.
I'm.
But
Yeah, and also the 4 match pay per views, 5 match pay per views. I just think I wish they'd go back to the 7, 8 matches, the
mhm.
3.5 hours or whatever. Sometimes they feel good and like okay, man, there's so much downtime, and I know they're gonna say, well, you're watching on Peacock or you're watching this, so it's free, you're not paying,
Yeah,
but
I gotta
so much
throw
of
all
the
that.
advertisements, yeah, it's like come
Mhm,
on, man.
exactly. That's one of my biggest gripes too. And you mentioned managers too. That's so funny you mentioned because that's like one of the things that I think wrestling today is missing so much.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing for me. And I was actually talking to my wife about this the other night because like she doesn't really watch wrestling anymore
Hmm.
these days, but she loves the old stuff,
Yeah.
especially '90s wrestling and then the early 2000s. Um, and we were I was talking to her the other night about like managers. I was like, they don't really do like a lot of manager work anymore on at least
Hmm.
on TV, at least
Yeah.
like WWE and AEW and stuff that we actually see on TV. You don't see a whole lot of it. And then, a lot of the because if you look at it back then, they had you had Paul Bearer, you had, Jimmy Hart, you had Jim Cornette, you had even if you going back to like the '80s and early '90s,
Yeah.
like Gary Hart. Like I think Gary Hart is like one of the best managers of all time. And then you have, I mean, of course, you have like nowadays you have Paul Heyman, as
Yeah.
one of the, but he's like really one of the only guys nowadays
Yeah, you
that,
got Paul Heyman, you got Don Callis, and then they got Kiana James, I guess she's on there here and
yeah,
there, and she's more like a mouthpiece or whatever.
yeah,
But
for
yeah,
Julia,
yeah,
yeah, for sure,
yeah, they don't have and I used to love like the Bobby Heenan, and like he would be
yeah.
paying these people to be in the Heenan family or Slick or whatever. It would be kind of like a group or an entourage, and I miss all that. That was
Yeah,
fun
dude,
times.
there was so many like and I've been watching this show on YouTube, which it's been around for several years now, but I'm kind of late to watching it. It's by a channel called Wrestling Bios,
Oh yeah,
and
oh he's awesome.
he does a series called Reliving the War.
Yep.
So where they kind of like, he's comparing Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro, week to week. And right now where I'm watching it, I'm in the middle, or let's see, I'm right towards the end of '96. So like it's over on the WWF side, they got like the Camp Cornette stuff going on, where he had Owen and Bulldog and
Yep.
Vader and just like all these guys. I was like, holy shit, I kind of forgot about that, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a big thing, dude. That I think I for sure I agree with you on that. Is that wrestling really needs to bring in more of, and just kind of have um, these managers with just as big of a characters as the wrestlers do. Because if you look,
Mhm.
look at Bobby Heenan, even though
Yeah.
he had his days where he wrestled and stuff as well, but I think people know him the best from his manager days and his
Yep.
commentary days.
Commentary. Yeah.
Um, and he's one of the best ever, if not the best manager there's ever been. Because you talked about how he did like the whole Heenan family. Look at all the guys that was in the Heenan family, dude.
Yeah.
You had Rick Rude, you had Mr. Perfect, you had Andre, you had Big John Studd, you had Haku. I mean, the names go on and on. The
Yeah.
Brainbusters, Arn Anderson, Tully
Yeah.
Blanchard. Just there was so many, and then I love Bobby Heenan, but I also love Paul Heyman. But Paul Heyman, if you look at how his career has went as a manager, you can
Mm-hmm.
see that he drew a lot of inspiration from Bobby Heenan. Because especially if you look at the Dangerous Alliance was basically like a tribute to the Heenan family.
Mm-hmm.
So and I just yeah, I'm with you, man. I really wish there was more of the manager stuff going on uh in today's wrestling, but I don't know. We don't book
Yeah.
this shit, so
No, yeah, and I wish WWE would focus more on tag teams too. Not just like makeshift. We're gonna put like they
Mhm.
just put our Truth and
Truth and Damian
Damien
Priest.
Priest together. But I wish they'd go back to having real tag teams. That's one thing
Me
where
too,
AEW
man.
does I think excel. I think their tag team division is awesome, and I think it's
Yeah,
all
I
that
agree.
is the one thing WWE excels on a lot. I think WWE has a really good women's roster.
Mhm.
But definitely, I think the tag teams are over there. But I wish WWE would put a focus back on the tag teams division.
I agree with that as well. Because I love tag team wrestling, and I just think that they got so many like single stars in
Hmm.
WWE right now that they don't really know what to do with the tag team division. Because I'll be honest with you, man, like because the Usos right now are the champs over on Raw, but
Right.
like they're occasionally I'll forget that. I'll forget that they're even the champs because they've not really been showing them a ton on TV here lately. To get because there was a, but I think there was just some things going on because I think like Jimmy had to leave for a little bit because I mean something was going on with
Yeah.
Naomi back home because I think because she's
She's
pregnant and all
pregnant.
that.
Right.
But I don't know, man. Like it's just they're not really putting a whole lot of focus on their tag teams in WWE. Even with the Usos, as the tag champs, and because I mean, if you look at it, like, because Jey Uso was just put in that match to qualify to get into the Elimination Chamber, which Bronson Reed was supposed to have won that match, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what I read too. And Logan Paul took all the spots, and I guess that's why he eliminated 3 people.
But it's just weird, though, that like they were even that Jay was even put into that match to begin with when they were trying to focus back on being a tag team star. So
Well, from what I read, that was kind of called on the fly because he got hurt. Bronson Reed got hurt during that match, and he couldn't continue. So they had to do like a little shoot, and they let him win. And I guess by SmackDown they changed the
well,
storyline.
yeah, that's what I mean. So like, why did they even put him in that qualifying match to begin with? If they were going back to him being like a tag team.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe they wanted him to take the loss. Who knows? And if he, that uh, WWE, a lot of, man, if you're a champion, that they
Mhm.
can be beat.
And then you had other teams, like and the Street Profits don't really they're not doing anything with them.
No.
I mean, a lot of these guys, like the Motor City Machine Guns, they just had a match, but like for several weeks, they were just
Yeah.
backstage guys. The White Six, I don't think they know what they're doing with the White Six stuff.
That's
Uh,
one thing I'm not into in any promotion. I'm not into that magic stuff at all in any other promotions. The Undertaker was fine, but that's about as far. And Kane, but that's about as far as
I
I'll
just,
go.
I don't know what they're doing with them. And then like they just had this, months, and it's been months and months long feud between them and Tom, the MFT,
Yeah.
Solo Sokoa's group. I'm like, when is that shit going to end?
Yeah, I think they want to keep Solo and them on TV because they were such a big act at one time. But then, what are they gonna do with him? He's kind of falling down without Roman.
Yeah.
Another problem I have is I am there's too many championships across all the promotions, and I have never been a fan of having 2 world champions. To me, it's just, or if they're gonna do have 2 world champions, I wish they would completely separate. Just call it, here's the Raw World Champion,
Mhm.
here's the SmackDown World Champion. They can have a tag team, an Intercontinental US, but don't mix a match. That's if I was booking it, that's what I would do. And I
I'm
would
right.
even make it more
Yeah,
like a sport when you do the draft. Do like an NFL draft where you really do like the draft, and how how you should do it before they'd come out. Hey, we're gonna pick one person, then you'll pick one person. Like I think I wish they'd run it like a sport if they want to do this separate draft thing or separate roster thing. But the
yeah,
two world champions to me, man, is just there's a WWE champion, there's world champion. Well, if a casual fan, well, what's the best? Well, I don't know. I guess it's I guess it's Cody, but
yeah. I'm definitely with you on that as well, man. Like, but the thing is, their roster, their entire roster is just so oversaturated. They have to
yeah,
split it up somehow because, and I wish it were. It used to not be that way. I mean,
no,
if you go back in like the early '90s of WWF, they had a ton of guys, but it was just they just had four belts.
yeah,
Or no, not even four. They had three at the time. So it was
yeah.
you had the WWF Championship, you had the Intercontinental Championship, and the Tag Team Championships. That was
Yeah,
it.
well, back in the day, there was the three. Yeah, that's it. Three, and then the four pay per views, and I turned to five when they brought out the King of the Ring. Uh, but even when they first did the roster split, Brock Lesnar was the Universal Champion. He jumped back and forth.
Yeah.
They only,
And I just, I don't know. I wish there was a way they could do because I feel like it would make it more interesting if there was just one, like if they just used the WWE Championship, they got rid of the World Heavyweight Championship,
yeah,
and even if they did away with the secondary, they just kept the Intercontinental, just did away with the United States, and just did that with all the belts. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It would make it more interesting. I feel like there will be a lot more interesting feuds that kind of become
hmm
available over time. But I don't know, man. Like again, like I said, I don't book this shit, so
no, no, I
there
hear you.
there's
Or
certain things I don't understand as far as the business aspect of it goes.
when they first did the draft, they were like hard rosters. You're on Raw, you're on SmackDown, and they didn't do that overlap stuff. And I wish if they're gonna do a separate show, do that. But apparently, their injuries happen. Certain
Mhm.
networks want certain. Well, hey, wait a minute, Roman's a big star. How come USA gets Roman Reigns, but Netflix ain't getting Roman Reigns? So I know they have so many people they got to please, but then
But
it just dilutes it though too.
do you agree with as far as the same like what we were talking about when it comes to AEW? Do you feel like they have too many belts
Oh,
too?
100%. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every promotion has too many belts. New Japan, all of
Mhm.
them, Ring of Honor, they all have too many belts. There's so many belts. I mean, I love AEW. And I sitting here, it would take me a minute to even think to count all the belts and even tell you who the champions are. You know.
And I like when they did that whole Continental Championship or whatever it is in AEW,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't understand why they even did that.
No.
Like, and it just feels like that they just did that so they could give Okada a belt or something.
Yeah.
I
They
don't
have the
know.
Continental belt, the International belt, the
Oh
the
yeah, there's that
the,
one
the
too.
TBS belt, the TNT. It's like, man, yeah, it's crazy. I do like the trios belts. I think WWE should incorporate a six-man belt. They got so many
I do
people.
too. I've always loved that
You
because
know.
they did that in Ring of Honor as well with
Yeah.
the
Yep.
and they used to have years ago in WCW. I think
Six man.
there was a six man
Yep.
tag team championship. Um, and then do you remember like towards the end of WCW they had this tournament for the cruiserweight tag team championships,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that they didn't even get to finish that tournament before WCW went out of business if I'm remembering correctly. But
Yeah,
like
I remember the cruiserweight tournament. Yeah, and the tag teams, man, that was at they're like dying breath, and they were bringing all like Evan Courageous, and I think AJ Styles was on like a WCW Saturday night, and
yeah,
yeah,
because it was him and Air Paris. That's I
yep,
think that's the first place I ever saw. I didn't really know who they were. I thought they were just like jobbers or something.
yeah,
So, but I didn't really know who AJ was until TNA in the
10,
early 2000s.
100%, yep,
But but yeah, man, there's just like so I'm glad we talked about that because there's so much that I really wish they would change about wrestling,
mm-hmm,
these days that to based off of how I fell in love with it so many years ago.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
But it's all
But
like the money stuff too that people don't want to hear about. And I get it; they want to glorify how much attendance they do in the house, but people don't really they don't care about your records. Nobody cares about how much gates you're breaking and all the
yeah,
advertisements on the ring. It's like, come on, man, I get it, but that's for a different audience,
yeah, it's
you
like
know.
it's kind of this ongoing joke now with Triple H because he does his press conference. He's like, "This is the largest gate that we've
Yeah,
had in
yeah,
company history." I'm like, it's the same shit every
yeah.
time he's like,
And like the last two or three shows, he's promising big surprises, and you're like, what? Like, okay,
yeah.
where they at? Like,
But do you think that he does that just because he's like, well, they're going to watch regardless, you
hmm
know?
Yeah.
So he just bullshits with people. So
Yeah, they just
and
do. Yeah, they're gonna and they feel like they can do whatever they want. I remember last year they were just competing on the same day that AEW would have a show or this person would
yeah,
have a show, and going back to that real quick, not going AEW, but the thing with Tony Khan and. Vince Russo said he's spending his daddy's money on action figures, but it just came out not too long ago, actually, last couple weeks, how HBO Max or whatever, they have a share in AEW. And I think from listening to Meltzer, that's what they said when WWE really got upset was a major conglomeration, like HBO or Time Warner. They're actually investing into this company. And that is what scared WWE is they're like, oh my God, Ted Turner invested now. So
hmm
Tony Khan went out there with a kind of a handshake deal and kind of proved in the ratings that he's going to do okay. And they gave him a big lump sum, and now he's got a lot of money. And
hmm
you know, but
So is there any other than the ones we talked about, like WWE, AEW, TNA? Is there any other like wrestling that you follow? Besides those.
Uh, Ring of Honor and then NWA. I'll catch here and there, not like every week. And then, like I said earlier, I'm big into like the podcast. Like you talking about wrestling bios, I love
Mhm.
Wrestling with Regret. He's awesome. Shoot
Mhm.
interviews. You're talking about Gary Hart
Yeah,
earlier, dude. I can
yeah.
listen to Gary Hart, dude. He could read me a book while I go to bed, dude. His Tell me about his voice, man. How he tells stories and he can
Mhm.
articulate the things. And I like even beyond the wrestling, the documentaries and stuff out there too. There's some great
Oh yeah,
documentaries.
and then do you like watching Dark Side of the Ring?
Yep, Dark Side of the Ring. Yep, I watched
I love
that.
that.
Yeah,
What
and
about
then
JCW? Have you been following it here recently?
here and there, I've watched some episodes. It's not something I watch every week, but
Yeah, I don't watch it every week, but I've been trying to follow it because it seems like they're doing something a little bit different than they
yeah,
have in several years. They just brought Vince Russo into the
Vince Russo.
fold,
Yeah.
and a buddy of mine who I just had on the show here, Evil Nate Hewitt.
hmm
He has a good friend. Her name's Paige, and she actually goes by Ring Rat now in
Okay.
JCW. So I'm hoping because I talked to him and I'd like to get her on the show at some point. Talk to her because
Yeah.
that'd be cool because she's from this area where I'm from too, her and Nate they went out to Texas and they trained under Rikishi and Funaki and all that. So and here she is now. She's working with JCW and she's on there like from like every week from what I understand. So that's super cool. Like seeing somebody from my area actually going and like doing something and they're working in the play, even though like JCW is not like the top of the mountain or anything right now, but at
Mm.
least she's out there, doing something. It's cool when you're making a name for herself. So that's I definitely respect that.
Yeah.
Um, but now there's a question that people get asked a lot. So I want to ask you, what is your biggest dream match that has never happened?
Oh man, that's hard. Two names just popped in my head: Kenny Omega, Shawn Michaels.
hmm I think I would also love to see AJ Styles. I know AJ Styles would probably want to see that match with him and Shawn Michaels more than
Yeah.
anybody because he pitched it and everything, but like
Yeah.
they never could agree to get Shawn to come back and do it.
Yeah, it just yeah. Shawn Michaels now I would want to come back to it now, but yeah, back in the day that would have been awesome. Will Ospreay and Shawn Michaels would be
Oh
awesome.
gosh, that
You
would
know.
be that's another thing, like, a lot of people shit on AEW, not to go back to AEW or anything, but, like, a lot of people shit on AEW and New Japan and just in different promotions like that have
Mhm.
the flippy shit or whatever.
Yeah.
But, dude, listen, you gotta be extremely talented to be able to do some of that stuff, and to me, it's cool. Like, it's cool, it's entertaining to see. Will Ospreay, I mean, is one of the most talented guys I've ever seen in a wrestling.
Can today, can you name many people better than him? I mean, yeah. And I'm not this is not WWE versus AEW. This is his talent.
I mean,
Will
like,
Ospreay, yeah, okay. He ain't perfect on a mic or whatever. I get all that, but in that ring and the moves he can do, I mean, he's AJ Styles all over again.
dude,
I
and
mean, for the new generation.
I think that's what matters. Like I said, I have gripes, I complain sometimes about the stories and stuff within AEW and these other companies,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, if you're like super impressive, you're doing killer ring work.
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean, we're not watching wrestling just for to see these guys talk all the time.
Hmm.
Until
Hmm.
I mean, it's that's a
Yeah.
part of it. That's a
Yeah.
part of why we watch, but it's there. We're if we were just to watch, that's why wrestling was. It wouldn't even be wrestling. It would just be
No.
they just. But like once they they get in that ring, and there's so many times I've watched matches where these guys have done zero promo work leading to a match, but that match just be like if you look at any match back in the day between Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, I mean they
Hmm.
would put on fucking some of the most amazing matches
Yeah.
ever was. And they would be like terrible promo if any promo work even existed before their
Yeah.
matches. So to me,
Well,
that's
even if you
important.
not to cut you off, if even if you go back to ECW, they got labeled as garbage wrestling, but man, they
Yeah,
had Rob Van Dam, Taboo. I mean, they had great talent at one, and they would do everything. Yeah, I mean, they are going to do the hardcore stuff, but they still can wrestle. I mean, and at the
exactly.
end of the day, man, they're putting their bodies on the line. It's entertainment for us, and man, it's just there's something about wrestling that is just all encompassing, and there's something for everybody at some point, no
I've
matter
heard
what promotion you watch.
And I've heard people say like, "I hate Will Ospreay." I'm like, "Why?
Yeah,
Why do you
yeah.
hate him?"
Would they
Like,
hate him if he was under Triple H's roster? You
that's what
know,
I'm saying. Like, that's one of the biggest things that bothers me about
yeah.
wrestling fans is the tribalism, dude.
Hmm.
Like if you're either WWE or nothing, or you're
Yeah,
AEW or nothing, or you're
yeah,
New Japan or whatever,
yeah,
like, and I hate it because like as long as I've been a wrestling fan, I liked WWF, I liked WCW, I
yeah.
liked ECW, I liked whatever
I
was
like
available.
wrestling. I like
Yeah,
wrestling, whatever. And that's not just wrestling. That's everything. That's PlayStation and Xbox. That's DC and Marvel. There's fan
yeah,
work, and
yeah. Great
you just
comparison.
turn it. You just gotta tune it out, man. I'm gonna watch what I want to watch, and I don't
Yeah,
care
you
how
have
they
to. You
feel
have
about
to.
Triple H or Tony Khan or whatever, man. Because I love wrestling. I respect wrestling.
Mhm.
And the meme where they say it's still real to me, damn it. But
Yeah.
in my life it is real because wrestling is important to me. Whether I'm watching it, I'm talking about it. It's with my dad. The history. One of my best memories. We went to WrestleMania 27. And like I said, we've been watching wrestling forever, and we go there, and it's getting ready to start, and he gives me a hug, and he's like, "We finally made it, son," and that is real to me.
Mhm.
And so when people make fun of wrestling or they dog wrestling, whatever, man, I don't care, man. It's
I,
real. I
I'm
love it.
I'm I'm glad you get it, man, because you're me and you are a lot alike when it comes to that aspect
I
of
agree.
being a fan.
Yep.
Because right, and I talked about this recently with Garrett. So my nephew, who's just 7 years old, he's getting really big into wrestling now, and
That's
it's
awesome.
super impressed. I'm super impressed with like his knowledge and he's not even been watching it, I don't think, like maybe a year, but he knows so much and he knows stuff that I didn't even know. And I'm like, that's insane. And then like I see a lot of me and then when I was that age.
Right.
So like to me, that's what makes it all worth it, dude. When you
Yep.
see someone like, that age, or even like you said, like your dad, your dad, he's the one that got you into it.
Right.
Like when you see a kid really get into it and they're like sharing with you why they love it, I'm like, dude, this is
Yeah.
everything. This is everything,
Yeah, I
when
love
you
going to
hear that.
live events and you seeing like the little kids, man, and they're so, or even watch on TV and they're so
Mhm.
into it, man. And the wrestlers will break character. You'll see little clips of
Yeah.
that sometimes. Triple H will go over there, back in the day, or Randy Orton was high fiving little kids. That is awesome. That to me is like, man,
Yeah, I
that
love
I
it,
love
man.
stuff like that.
'Cause, like, that's because we were there. We were there
Yeah.
at one point when we
Mm-hmm.
were kids, and
Yep.
one of my favorite videos right now that I just saw this, like, yesterday, but I absolutely love it, and it's, this video of this kid who was a fan of Penta, and he was trying to sell, like, something d and just to try to afford to get a Penta action figure,
Right.
and so word got out to, I guess, WWE and Penta. So Penta went and actually visited the kid, brought him like his two newest action figures and all this
That's
stuff.
awesome.
I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
the Miz girl when he beat Randy Orton for the
oh
belt,
yeah,
and she was
yeah,
so angry. And then a couple weeks later, she's backstage with him, and
yeah.
this it's awesome, man. Yeah, when they do stuff like that for the kids, and that's what it's all about, man. Because that's who's gonna be watching wrestling hopefully in the next 10 years to
100.
keep it going. You
You're
know.
right on the nose with that, man. Like I 100% agree with that. And so that leads me into my next question for you, though. What is your most favorite thing? Well, actually, this is kind of a two-parter. So, what is your most favorite thing about being a wrestling fan, and what is your least favorite thing about being a wrestling fan?
Oh man, my most favorite thing. I don't know, they're real life action figures, but I feel like they're touchable. I feel like they're there. I feel like we know some about them because there's so much out there on social media. You can read about them, and it, it is okay, whatever, predetermined, scripted, but they are athletes. But
Mhm.
they're like athletes they're approachable, and you can follow them. And I just love it. Like when you get invested in whether they're winning or they're gonna lose, or you just and most of them just seem like awesome people. Like I don't think there's any other form of entertainment. Like movie stars seem unapproachable. Like they're just way out there, and not all of them obviously, but it just seems like wrestlers are there. And like if you walk down the street and seeing Hulk Hogan, he'd probably say hi to you. I don't know. There's something about that. My least favorite. Oh man, there's too much wrestling right now. It's hard to keep up with everything, and a lot of it's very good. A
Yeah,
lot of it
that's
is
my least favorite thing
very
too.
good. And it's whether it's Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan, even like the independent stuff. You
It's
know,
like
yeah,
it's like nowadays as a wrestling fan, like we get what they call FOMO, fear of missing
yeah,
out,
yeah.
because there's so much,
There's
man.
so much. It's so much, and it's good too. It's not like it's junk. I mean, you're gonna find a great match on Dynamite, on even TNA every Thursday, or Ring of Honor, and like GCW. There's something for everybody, and it is so accessible right now with the internet and the pay-per-views or whatever. Everything is online right now, and
Mhm.
YouTube, and even these small independent promotions are putting half their shows on YouTube just to get exposure, and then that's not including the books or the podcast or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like there's so much,
It
dude.
is overwhelming. It's hard to just
Because right now I'm not even listening to any wrestling podcasts, because there's just so much other stuff going, as far as like,
yeah.
YouTube
Yeah.
stuff I'm watching, or,
Yeah.
just all the actual just stuff that's on TV that I'm watching. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, all is,
Yeah.
there's a lot, dude. There's a
There's
lot. So,
so much like old stuff I'd love to go back and watch. And you do here and there sometimes, but it's like, oh man, but I got this new stuff I got to keep up with too.
mhm.
Like the WWF YouTube page, they're always uploading old WCW stuff, and you're like, oh man, I'd love to watch this, but
Yeah.
you just skim through it over, and then that's not including like all the A and E stuff, like the wrestling bios that they do, and Evolve, WWF Evolve, and all. It's just yeah, it's so much, but it's out there,
And they're starting to bring some of those Evolve guys into NXT
I
now.
know.
So
Yeah.
I think they're doing that though, so they can get more people watching Evolve, maybe though, because
Yeah.
I know. But I mean, from what I've been seeing on Evolve, like it's pretty good right
It's
now. I mean,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's on Tubi and it's
mm-hmm.
there and it's accessible
Free,
and
yeah,
yeah, you can watch it. GCW's free or not GCW. The what's the one you were talking about earlier with ICP?
Oh, JCW.
JCW, yeah. GCW is one now that I'm not in the death stuff. Not, I don't mind hardcore and blood. I don't want to. That is one thing I'm not into.
Well, yeah,
Every single match to be hardcore and blood.
I agree with that too.
Yeah,
Because I mean I'm a big ECW guy, but like
yeah.
ECW wasn't like that hardcore.
No, no, it wasn't light tubes and all that kind of stuff. And even sometimes
They
AEW goes a little bit too much, But I don't want to see a whole show of that. ECW had a mixture. You got your wrestling, you got your hardcore stuff, you got your provocative storylines. Yeah. I want a mixture of wrestling.
Because like I seen something, I think it was from a GCW show here recently, where like I think they posted this photo on Instagram, and like it was just this floor that was just covered in blood. I mean,
Yeah,
it looked like a murder scene, dude.
yeah,
And I'm like, I like hardcore wrestling. I like when they get a little bit,
yeah.
extreme with blood matches and stuff. But like, there's sometimes where it gets a little bit too much, though.
Yeah, even during the Attitude Era, the backyard wrestling, man. No, whatever, man. But you're gonna go out there and jump off your roof, and I mean, more power to you. But that's not entertaining. I don't want to see nobody get hurt. I don't want to see nobody
Um,
wrestling get hurt.
That's something, and I'll talk about that at some point
Yeah,
here, on the channel. But like my friends, I would go to their shows, but when
hmm
I was in high school, my friends had their own backyard wrestling. They
yeah,
would tape everything, and like they would have like
yeah,
everything, like commentators. I mean, just everything that they were like doing on TV, they did like in the
yeah,
backyard. My friends did, and I never participated with or anything like, but
yeah.
I was no, I never, not as a wrestler, but like they did let me come and do commentary one time, and like
Okay.
oh, like they would like do a thing to where like they would. One of them would record me if they need to show me talking at the announce table, but then like when actual the matches happen,
Yeah.
I would just have like the handheld and I would just be talking, as the
Yeah.
match went on. So we did
That's
that
awesome.
stuff, and like they did a lot of stupid stuff like that too. We're using
Yeah.
light tubes and jumping off
No. Yeah.
stuff, and I was like, but now like I'll talk to my buddies that did that back in the day, and I was like, man, your like knees and your back kill you nowadays. He's like, yeah, he's like, I wish I'd never done that stuff.
No, man. Yeah, especially making $10 a night or whatever. I mean, whatever. More power to him. All right, question though for you. So you collected wrestling figures.
Hmm.
Did you play with them?
I mean, as a kid, yeah, up until
Oh,
I
as
was
a kid,
probably
me too.
yeah, up until I got to it was like I was like halfway through high school, I think is when I
Yeah.
stopped, but I never stopped collecting them though. Like
Yeah.
I got to the point I was like, well, like, I mean, I don't know that I'm getting like too old, but I just don't really
Yeah.
feel like I wasn't into it as
Yeah.
I was when I was a real young kid
I
playing.
man, when I was a kid, I'd play with them. I'd have books and write down matches and do
I did
storylines like in
I
my
did the
head. And then
I
when
did
it
the
got
same thing.
when I got older, then I'd play the video games and I'd do commentary over that and run storylines. And oh yeah, I
Oh,
still play
well,
video games. I
the
just got
the
the new
the
WB this week.
oh, did you?
And
Yeah, I've
yeah,
not gotten it yet, but I want to get it, man. And like that's something I still do. Like
yeah,
with the video games, though. Like
yeah, yeah,
I'll do like my own commentary when I play
yeah,
it. I still do that shit. I
yeah.
don't care because like and my
No,
wife is like, What are you doing? Who are you talking to? I was like, oh, I'm talking to this game.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
oh yeah, man. Used to run storylines, and I'd have a folder and a book, and I'd write down matches. And oh man, I always kept it in my closet though, because I didn't want people to find it, because you were kind of like, but I was a kid, who cares? But
Dude, I
oh
used
man,
so when I was a kid, I also not only did I play with my wrestling figures and do that same thing, like write stuff down in the notebooks and all like you
yeah,
did,
yeah,
but I also like my Spider-Man, all my superhero action figure, any action figure that I had, I've made them wrestle, dude.
yeah,
Like I had this whole like I think the organization I used to call it was WOR, so
right,
World of Ravage, and
yeah,
it was just everything was like mixed in, like not just because I would have like the wrestling figures in there, wrestling like you would be seeing like Sting versus Spider Man or
yeah.
something.
That's
And
awesome.
man, I used to love doing that stuff, and then like I still think about that stuff every now
Oh
and then.
yeah,
Right? And I was because I was telling my nephew about it not long. I told him that I used to do that, and he goes, oh, okay, that sounds cool. So now he does that too.
yeah,
all of his toys. So,
I didn't know
uh,
what promotion it was. There was an independent promotion because when I was a kid, I was big into Ninja Turtles too. So Ninja Turtles show up in WWF, and some independent promotion one time had like the Ninja Turtles. I was like, oh wow, dude, I used to do this, and you know,
I loved
that's
when
awesome.
they had those guys show up in WWF back in the day, just as the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Someone told me, I don't know if this is true, but someone told me that one of them was Jim Cornette.
it yeah, it might have been. I don't know who was under that, but yeah, but I
And
remember when they were there.
I think they even asked him about it, like, on his podcast, and he
Yeah,
denied it, but, like, I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know where
yeah.
that story comes from. Um,
That's awesome, man.
but I have one last question for you, Brock, and I
All
ask
right.
this to everyone here on the show. When it comes to your favorites of all time, not necessarily who you think is the greatest of all time, but just your 4 personal favorites of all time, who is on that Mount Rushmore?
The first two are easy: Shawn Michaels and Ultimate Warrior, and then three and four, man. Uh, Bret Hart. And now I'm going to say something that are really over the last 10 years or so really pushed me over the limit. That's Kenny Omega. I really like Kenny Omega.
So, what about those 4 guys, stands out to you for them to be on your Mount Rushmore above everyone else?
Well, Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler of all time to me. I think probably to a lot of people.
Mhm.
He can wrestle. He can talk. He can play babyface, heel. He can do hardcore matches. I mean, Shawn Michaels is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimate Warrior is just more of a. He ain't clearly not great in the ring, but that entrance, that
That
look,
larger than life,
larger
yeah.
than life. I love the he would change the color of the belts, the blue belt,
Oh, yeah, the
the
pink, the
strap, and the
white.
pink and the yellow, and I thought they were so awesome. There was just something about the Ultimate Warrior, and then Bret Hart is just amazing, right? A
Oh,
great
yeah.
technical wrestler, and and he could tell the stories, and he was great in the ring, and he could. There was just something about him, and then Kenny Omega. He's just cool as hell, man. There's something about Kenny Omega that he's great in the ring. Obviously, he can cut promos. He does so much, like with the video game stuff and outside of wrestling. There's just yeah, Kenny Omega's awesome.
I love Kenny Omega too,
I do
dude.
too.
Like, that, and I'm glad are putting over his promo work because he is great on the
Yeah,
mic, man. It feels like a lot of that stuff that he does is kinda on the fly too,
yeah,
because he just, I mean, he just got that natural charisma about him.
yeah. Yeah, no, Kenny Omega's awesome.
Especially, like, there's this promo he does when he was wrestling in Japan where he cuts it in perfect Japanese. Have you
Hmm.
seen? And
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, that to me that shows dedication too
yeah,
to what you do because a lot of these guys that go and wrestle in Japan, I mean, they may speak like a little bit of Japanese, but just to learn it good enough to where you're speaking perfect Japanese in a full promo on
yeah,
TV is really impressive.
yeah. And his Terminator thing that he does, where he gets, have you seen that? Where he like beats on the ring
Yeah,
and the crowd
yeah.
does it with him. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And then now he's like a character in a new Street Fighter, and like he's
Oh,
really,
yeah.
yeah,
He did
yeah.
like he did the mocap for
But
that.
okay, for yeah, yeah,
That's super cool. Yeah, I seen a video of that. I was damn, like, because
yeah,
I've known him like a big Street
yeah,
Fighter fan for years, but I and I wonder how Xavier Woods feels about that because I know he's a
yeah.
Street Fighter guy too.
I think there's the tribalism online. I think they're all friends. I don't think any of them. I think they all like each other. They're all happy. And
100%,
hey,
yeah.
if I get fired from here, I'm going to Tony Khan. And if Tony Khan lets me go, I'm gonna go to Triple A. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The owners might have
100%.
some issues with each other, but the boys and the girls, hey man, that's
Yeah.
another place to work.
It's
You know?
just somewhere else that they can go and get themselves over, in a different way or make more
Yeah,
money, whatever.
yeah.
And I think there could be several guys from WWE that might go to AEW here before too long. Johnny
Oh yeah,
Gargano being one of them.
yeah,
Um, so I
yeah.
don't know.
I heard about Johnny Gargano. And then
And
there's gonna be people from AEW. You know, when AEW first started, they were all running over there. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Adam Cole. But now it's starting to trickle back the other way with Cody Rhodes, and then now they just got
well,
Will
that's
Hobbs or Royce Keys and Penta, and
mhm.
so
That's just how I mean, a lot of people like to just talk about that like it's something new or anything.
yeah,
It's not because that's the way
no,
it's always been, man.
no,
I mean, if you look at going back to the '80s, right when Vince McMahon Jr. was taking over the company from his dad, and he was pulling all these guys from AWA to come into the WWF, and then like he got Macho Man and Elizabeth was working for I think it was ICW, which was Macho Man's dad's company
yeah,
that
his dad's promotion, yeah,
and like because they were running shows here in Kentucky and stuff. Because like my mother-in-law always tells me that she got to see Macho Man, years ago, wrestle before he went to WWF, and he was wrestling Ronnie Garvin in like this high school gym, which is just right down the road here from our house.
yeah,
And I'm like, that's so awesome because I never got to see Macho Man in person live, but just that's just what was going on, man. Like they was always one these guys were going from one place to another, and then
yep,
even the big companies between WWF and WCW back in the '90s, they were jumping ship back and forth, left and right, and so it's nothing new. I mean,
oh,
that's just and it's going to happen probably till the end of time, till
yeah,
wrestling's not a thing anymore. So
mm-hmm.
I don't. That's what makes it hard for me to understand why people get so upset when an AEW guy goes to WWE or a WWE guy goes to AEW. Like, who gives a shit? As
Yeah,
long as you're seeing them on TV and you're still a fan of them, who cares?
yeah, that's the whole quickly, that's the whole tribalism thing. And I love how they, AEW stealing all the stars. Well, if you look about 40-50% of WWE rosters, they all came from Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so you want to talk about
Yeah.
who was a company that built stars up. Look at the roster of AEW and WWE, and damn, you need to give Ring of Honor a lot of credit.
Um, I know that was my last question, but I wanted to ask you one more because you just made me think of this. Who is somebody that let's use WWE for example. Who is somebody in WWE that you think will never show up in AEW? I know you said Randy Orton earlier, but
Hmm.
is there anyone else?
Uh, Man, that'll never go there. Uh, Man, that's I don't. Cody Rhodes, I don't think is ever going back.
Nah, probably
No,
not.
AJ Styles never is not going to go there. Uh, Man, that's tough. Because honestly, I don't. Yeah, that's yeah. Randy Orton, I think, is the only Undertaker. I mean, but currently on the roster now, that's still. Yeah, I mean, I could see anybody going over there. And I could see almost anybody from AEW going over there. Honestly, even because there's rumors that even Charlotte Flair wants to go over there, and oh there's so many people. What's her name? She wants to go be with Sasha. I'm forgetting her name.
Oh,
Bailey.
Bailey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's another heavily rumored one right now that she may
yeah.
be. Um, but I don't think Punk's ever going to go back.
No, Punk won't.
Now, could you foresee Roman or Seth going to AEW
No,
one day?
Seth, yes, I could see Seth and Becky going over there.
Hmm,
Yeah, not
that would
Roman.
be interesting.
I think Roman's too. He's too no. He's too. That's a lifeblood. He's not going to give up. He can go
Yeah,
sit at home for the
I'll-
rest of his life and make millions of dollars just to keep him
mhm.
from not going there. And the
and
whole
I
Rock legacy, and yeah, I don't see that.
yeah, I think he's one of those guys too that like WWE would probably give him whatever he wanted just to
Yeah,
stay,
yeah,
with them. And I think there's several guys right now that they would do that for,
yeah.
but I
But
mean,
but even as popular as MJF is, I can see him going to WWE one day. You know.
oh yeah, did you see like the thing here recently where I can't remember where it was at, but like, it was him and Seth is I think it was before like a football game or something, and
Yeah.
it was him and Seth were like having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I seen
I
that.
I can definitely see MJF coming to WWE at some point. I mean, it was
Yeah.
rumored like a few years ago he was supposed to win, after his
Yeah.
contract ended, but I think he'll be there one. I mean, he's still super young, so I mean, he's
Yeah,
got
I mean
plenty of
they
time.
try to get a lot of. I think the only ones that don't won't go in AEW is probably the Young Bucks and
Mm,
probably Kenny Omega because I don't see him being around too much longer. They tried to get Kenny Omega a long time ago, and I listened to a podcast with him, and he kind of gave all these rules. He's like, I'm not gonna go to NXT, and I want the Roman Reigns push right away. And they were kind of like, no, no, no. At that time, Vince wasn't gonna do nothing like that, and
and
so you know,
and again, like I said, as long as these guys are still on TV, they're still wrestling, they're
yeah,
still entertaining
yeah,
me. I don't
yeah.
care what company they're with. As
No,
long as they're putting
no,
out good matches, good stories,
yeah.
and everything. As long
It's
as
all
it's
about places to work, man. I mean, why anybody would want any of them to go out of business, or they, it's thank God for AEW. I mean, really. I mean, it's another place to work and make good money, and it makes WWE better, which makes wrestling better, which makes it better for the fans. It's
exactly.
you know,
And anybody watching this right now, if you're into that tribalism shit, stop. Just
yeah,
stop right now
yeah. I
because
mean,
I
it
don't get it.
when I was in high school, I don't even think it was tribalism. It was fun though. Oh no, no, Stone Cold's better than Goldberg. Yeah, but
Oh
DX is
well,
better.
yeah. I mean,
DX is, but that's fun. But I never heard. Oh, I hope they go out of business. Or
yeah,
oh, they're the minor league. It's like really like
yeah.
okay. I
If
mean
you're
whatever. I mean
when you get to the point you're breaking down bit by bit every
yeah
aspect of the company, what they do, the
yeah
wrestlers, picking them apart,
yeah
then it's not fun anymore when you're doing
no
it. I mean, it just feels like some of these people are miserable. Like
yeah
if they
hate
just,
watches.
yeah, I don't know, man.
They hate watch. They hate it. They keep on watching it, but they're miserable and they complain about every little thing.
Yeah,
But there's people that complain about WWE. No, they can't do no right either. It's
but
who knows? You
that's
know,
how it is, man. That's how it's
yeah,
probably always going to be.
yeah. There is
But
nothing left. There is nothing that's gonna make me stop watching wrestling. It ain't ever gonna get that bad. I love it too much. You
same here,
know,
man. And
yeah,
a close friend of mine I've known ever since we were probably in kindergarten. We're talking about the other day, and
yeah,
he was telling me how much he admires that I have never stopped being a
yeah,
wrestling fan. And he says I could always imagine being one to the day you die. And I was like, well, yeah, probably that's the
yeah,
truth. I'll probably be one to the day I die.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, it's just been such a big part of my life. I think growing up, I had multiple friends, but I had three close friends. But what drunk us all together when I was a little kid in high school, and then my best friend now, it's wrestling. That is, it's I love it, man.
Same here, man. And Brock, man, I want to say just thank you again. I appreciate you taking time to do the show. And I thought this was great. This was a lot of fun, man. And
I agree,
I'd love to have you again on the show sometime later on. And
definitely.
I think you should start doing your own channel, brother. I think you should start. I mean, you know a lot about this stuff, and you've been very, talkative about all the different topics we've had tonight. So I would love to see you do your own channel at some point too, man.
I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate that, man, and I'd love to be back on anytime. Let me know.
Oh, absolutely. And before we go, is there anything else you wanted to add or say or talk about or anything?
No, man, just enjoy wrestling. It's fun. There's something for everybody. And you shouldn't hate watching WWE or AEW. You shouldn't want anything bad to happen to wrestling in a whole.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Right.
There is nothing like wrestling. It is a form of entertainment that exceeds to me any sports, any other entertainment. It
Yeah.
is just yeah, it is fun. It really
That
is fun.
and that's something I've always said too, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that wrestling is the
Yeah.
most unique art form that's ever
Yeah.
existed because you can find a little bit of everything somewhere in wrestling.
I agree. And man, they're talented. I don't. It's fake. It's scripted. I don't. Whatever you want to say, man. Dude, they are talented. They put on a show, and yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna keep watching.
But well, sir, it has been a pleasure, and I really appreciate you being here. And just on behalf of both myself and Brock, I want to say thank you to everyone watching the show. I've got several other fun shows coming up, including a few this week. On Tuesday, I'm gonna be doing a show with Stuntman Mark. So if you follow him on YouTube, then he He'll be here on the show on Tuesday, and then I have another YouTuber that will be with us, who's also a friend of mine, on this coming Thursday, which will be Pizzal. And then on Saturday, the 14th, I'll have my friend Dave Cottle, also known Dave Mania. He's also the author of some horror children's books called The Adventures of Emma Stein. So maybe I can get him to talk about that a little bit, as well as the wrestling stuff. But just be sure to to stay tuned to the channel and check out those upcoming shows. And again, thank you for watching this show here with Brock. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that effing bell, brother. Right here on the CraterMania channel, and we will see you next time on How I Got Into